Models answer questions. Agents solve problems with a full ecosystem of tools and integrations. Today, let's walk through the most common design patterns for solving those problems. Let's get into it. I'm going to walk you through 6 demos with code and workflow diagrams to really understand each of the most common patterns. First, we're going to start with human in the loop, and it's always more fun to start with a demo. Here we have a press release generator. It's got information about brand new cool innovations coming out. Let's go ahead and draft a press release with AI. It's looking good, but I want it to be more punchy, but still factual. Let's regenerate it. So this is going to reject it, but provide some feedback and regenerate with my feedback. And you can see now it's going to obliterate traffic congestion. I love it. Approved. Now let's take a look at the information here around the workflow. It basically has a couple steps. You have your user request coming into the agent, the human review in the middle, and you have a couple choices whether you reject it with feedback or you approve it and then take that sensitive action with the result flowing back to the user. Now let's take a look at some code using the Google ADK or Agent Development Kit. We're just going to briefly walk through the code, depending on if you're a developer or not. Either way, it's great. We will start with the agent itself. You can see not a lot of code here. We define the agent. Its name, it's a gatekeeper. So it's gatekeeping the choice of do I move forward in the process or not. We're using a Gemini model. And we have an instruction that informs what the agent is supposed to do. They're a corporate communications manager drafting a press release. Here we have our tools. So we have a publish press release tool with the flag to require confirmation that it uses this function confirmation criteria. So let's walk through the first thing, publishing the press release. This is obviously a demo. This is a stub where we are simply printing that we have submitted the press release, but this could submit to global press channels, for instance. Confirmation criteria is where you can decide if you want to always require human review or you want to go through some kind of conditional step where you might look at the content and only under certain conditions require the human approval. Here we're always returning true, so that means that we're always going to need the review. So that's it for human in the loop. Let's now take a look at RAG. And let's have fun with a space type of scenario here. So let's first start with asking a question. What dangers exist in the galaxy? And the system doesn't have that information at this point. So what we need to do is augment its information from a knowledge base. So I've got 10 records in a CSV file in this demo that I pull into a SQLite database. I'll click ingest data. So now I've got these different records, the officer's log, commander's entry, things like that. Let's try that again. Can you please tell me about what dangers on my journey I should expect? Fingers crossed. Great. So we have all this information that's from the knowledge base, and that's what RAG helps you do. It provides specific updated information that might not be in a general data source. So you're augmenting your knowledge base with that. So let's take a quick look at the architecture. There's 2 pieces of this. One is at offline stage. So this is as the owner of the RAG system, you need to keep your knowledge base updated all the time. So you have documents coming in, they're ingested via script. Then there's something called an embedding, which is the conversion of these documents that are text or a variety of other formats, and then converts them to basically an array of numbers that represents it, that allows for easy similarity search. So we have this sort of universal definition of the meaning of those documents put into a vector database. That is a one-time step that you probably will repeat then after you've done the one-time import as you have new documents coming in on some kind of regular basis. From a user perspective, now pretend you've already implemented your RAG system. You have a user coming in, asks a question to the agent. The agent takes that query, and the query about asking about the dangers in the galaxy, goes over the vector database, and it takes that query and also creates an embedding out of it. And so that helps with the matching process. So we have a process which finds the most similar records that exist in the database to the query. And those records are then returned as context to the retriever, which then appends it to the original query. So I have my question, and we have additional records, and then the large language model has that extra context outside of its general information and provides the user the answer. Let's take a look at some code for this. So we've got a few files. We won't go into a lot of depth on this. All of the information is in the GitHub repo here. You can click view on GitHub, and I'll provide this information. It's all in my GitHub repository. So again, our agent has a name, it has an instruction, and it has, in this case, one tool to retrieve knowledge. So we're retrieving knowledge. We take our query. So the dangers in the galaxy, we embed those, convert those to the series of numbers, and then we query the documents to find the most similar ones, and then we join that to our query. And then we have an augmented query. Let's walk through a couple other pieces here. So how do you actually do the embeddings? Not a lot of math or anything like that. You can simply use the Gemini embedding model. It's fantastic. And you can then use the Gemini SDK to embed the content. You pass in the model, and it takes care of everything for you. Now let's talk about the runtime, or rather the design time process, where we're loading the knowledge. You would walk through, in this case, we've got a CSV file, read the various rows in the CSV, chunk them, and then put them in as records. And here you see where we're doing that, and we're initializing database and then putting those texts in the database with db add documents. All right, so that's it for RAG. Let's move on to the next pattern, reflection. And again, it's more fun to start with an example. Let's just use the example here, write a haiku about Rust. We'll run it, and let's walk through what happens here. So I'm using Haiku because maybe the model might not get it right on the first try. And here we've tagged that. Often it does get it right, but this is a great pattern when you want that extra layer of correction. Like, let's say you generate some code, you want to run some tests on it, take the result of those tests and feed that right back to the agent. This is how you could do that. So let's walk through it. So we have an initial poem here. The critic then has some additional information about how it would like to improve on this poem. And then the refiner agent takes that information, creates it a new one. And then the critic doesn't have any issues, and we're done. So then the refiner agent passes the final version of our poem. Fantastic. Let's take a look at the code. It's a little more complexity here, but again, not a ton. Let's look at a couple agents that are involved in this process. So first, we've got our initial writer agent. And this writer has instruction to create a first draft of the story and just output the story text. Number two, we've got the critic, and the critic reviews the draft, and notice it has the existing version, and then we tell it provide some suggestions or tell it that we're done. And the refiner basically provides a critique and improves that draft. And so that loop that we talked about is done here. You have a notion in the Google EDK of a loop agent that prevents you from having to write a lot of custom code. What you do is simply say, there's a refinement loop here with two different agents, a critic and refiner, and we can go up to 5 iterations before we're complete. And we also can do an early exit where we're ready to go, and that's where the exit loop is being called. Let's take a quick look at the visual of this. So we have the user request coming in. Let's take a quick look at our components. We've got a generator with the initial output. a critic that evaluates that output, and a refiner. And so again, they go in a number of loops until they're happy or you've reached the maximum number of iterations, and then provide a final response. Moving on, let's look at a sequential agent. So this is fairly straightforward. This is your closest thing to a workflow, a traditional step-by-step linear workflow. Let's look at a demo for this. So this is an incident response communication tool. So let's say we've got a log for our system. We've got a P1 issue that comes in, and let's click Run Triage Pipeline. And what the system's going to do, it's going to assess the issue, and then it's going to come up with an email here for our stakeholders. So unlike the human in the loop here, it's pretty much a 1, 2, 3 linear process. Just for fun, we can look at a couple other templates we have here for emails that we could write. Here's major, not quite as bad, a database connection timeout. And we're going to have a different tone in that email that we send to our stakeholders. It'll take a moment. And we also have a minor as well. So we could also do a pipeline for that. All right, so let's now take a look at the code for the sequential agent pattern. And here we have those 3 different agents that we described, the extractor, the assessor, and the communicator. And what we do is we define the sequential agent, and it's got 3 sub-agents that perform the task. Now, let's look at something interesting here. What we have is at the end of the first step, we have an output key, structured incident data, and that is then used in the template for the second agent, and so on. So severity level is also passed along to the communicator, and this is how information gets passed between the various agents in the workflow. So again, a sequential agent with 3 different sub-agents in order of how they communicate. Great. Let's move on to the next topic. And this is another fairly straightforward pattern called tool use. And a tool is a piece of code that's generally deterministic that an agent can use. I'm going to use a calculator example in this case because a model can perform some calculations, but in some sense, that's memorization versus a true understanding of how the math works. And so we're going to have the agent know, hey, if I use a calculator, I'm always going to get the right answer. And so let's go ahead and ask a question. We'll just use a demo answers here. We're going to run the query, and it's going to calculate it and provide us the product. Let's look at that workflow again. We have a user request, and the agent decides based on the question that was asked, which tool is right for the job, which parameters are right for that, and it returns it. Let's look at the code for how this is done. Got a little fancy here with a safe calculator so that we're not calculating any strings or expressions that could be unsafe. It basically using a library here in Python to do that. Let's just assume it's a very basic calculator. Just if you're new to this, we're just going to look at, here we have our LLM, our instructions that we have access to a calculator tool, and we just point it to that calculator. And the agent doesn't have to use the calculator. Again, it's based on the context of the question. It decides whether that will help solve the user's problem. And finally, we have the voting pattern. And the voting or parallel agent pattern allows us to split up our work. Let's start with the demo. So we're going to ask for a smart coffee mug that has Bluetooth. Okay, why? Not really sure, but let's come up with some copy for that. So here we have 3 different perspectives: humorous, professional, urgent. And then we have a judge at the end of the process that's going to tell us which of these is best. So this is a great way to harness diverse perspectives and answer a question, split it up, approach it from different angles, and then maybe have a human, or in this case, an AI agent that is making a decision based on those perspectives. And the workflow that we saw before, just to look at that real briefly again, we had each of those three different agents providing options, and then a judge agent selected that. How would this be implemented? Let's take a look. So here we have three different agents. Again, those are the ones that we split the task up with. And we've got a judge agent. And that is it for the demo. Again, agent design patterns. If you want to check this out yourself, you can go to the repositories here and we'll take a look at agent design patterns. You can then look at this, the code, even try out a static version of this website. It doesn't have the demos. And the last resource I want to point to is the Google Cloud Architecture Center, which helps you choose design patterns for your agent systems. They've got the patterns I mentioned and quite a few more, and will help be a springboard to a lot of great information on implementing these in production. So that's it for the demo. Hope this was helpful, and happy building with agent design patterns. Thank you.